Welcome back, guys. Philosophyjkd here once again. Chapter 1098, One Piece. Wow. That would seem very sad. Um, we have the apparent death of Ginny, which is very odd, in an anime where very few people actually truly die in One Piece. So I think there could be a rug pull or a combination between science and devil fruit powers coming in the future. And especially when we look at Bonnie and we look at the fact that she's still alive. She was deemed to not survive past the age of 10, basically, but she's still alive. And we see in chapter 1096, Kuma is basically asking her where would she like to go, which harkens back to, um, Sabagodi Island, where Kuma sent the Straw Hat Pirates flying to places where they would basically get what they're after. Now, the question is, what would Julie Bonnie be after? Because he asked her where she want to go. Most people would think about a vacation unless they have a mission. But her mission or her dream was to be healed or to get to age 10, wherein at age 10, she now gets the ability to be free and free from her illness and travel the world. So it's very interesting, this Sapphire Skull, because if you look at Sapphire Skull, um, sapphire is a precious stone. So the illnesses that have been affecting the people on the surface, which are considered rare, are related to precious stones. Previously, I said that yokais have something to do with curses, okay, and jewels. Okay, I went and talked about scripture about it. When you go to other mythologies around the world, you find it also. But One Piece, when you really look at it with open eyes and really brave, you have to really have some real testicular fortitude to look into the deeper, dark parts of One Piece and how it relates to our real world. You look at Kuma, carries a Bible, he's a pastor. But the cross is a sun symbol. Sun god, get it? If Emu truly is represented by the moon, okay, that's the moon. Hence, in the real world where we live, what religion is symbolized by the moon? The Muslim religion. The Muslim religion, the crescent moon. And what symbols are recognized by the sun? Well, you have the new Christianity, the Roman Catholic religion. That's a sun symbol. And you also have the Egyptian mystery school of Thoth the Atlantean, which was later represented as the priest class of Egypt, the Coptic Christians, and you have the capital T with the sun sign over the top of it. So in real world, we're looking at a war between um, Israel and Palestine, which has always been a war. So the spin that happens in One Piece and also happens in the real world. Okay, there's always casualties of war. War is not good. We don't. Who wants war? I'm sure people would rather have their ambitions met peacefully. I mean, it doesn't matter how brutal the tyrant is, but who really wants resistance to what they want? Okay, who wants outright resistance to what they want? Unless the agenda is to depopulate people, unless the agenda is to subjugate people, unless the agenda is an actual attack not on your enemy alone, but your own people. Okay, and there's different types of attack. For example, in One Piece, we see Kuma being pretty altruistic, pretty pious, pretty basically very self-sacrificing. He puts himself last so he can put others in front of him. Okay, it's a good thing to do, but at the same time, you can be taken advantage of. So in essence, when you're not dealing with good people, your efforts may go to help people that don't deserve or people that are negative polarities and seek to just gain the gifts for themselves and never keep those good energies going to other people. They're a closed off circuit. They seek to suck the life out of everything else. I believe that in One Piece we have an inversion happening, okay? I believe that the celestial dragons, I believe that Emu and the Gorosei were not always bad. I think over time, things reach their run out point. For example, if you have people that are truly about law and order, okay, or reflected light in the people, there comes a point where the laws can become too oppressive, the laws can become too strict, and then the laws can just become corrupt where there's laws for you, but not for others, or there's laws for thee, but not for me. Oppositely, when you talk about freedom, okay, freedom, we would say, oh, that's a good thing. Just like law is a good thing. But freedom can go negative or positive. When you have freedom, it gives people a chance to express themselves. It gives them the ability to be their true selves without fear. However, when you have so much freedom where people express themselves in such a way where they're hurting other people, or they do things that lead to the destruction of their ecosystems or their planet, well, now freedom has taken a negative turn. So we're dealing with a spiritual warfare, okay, where we need to understand the trajectory of things that are being said. You know, if Kuma has been altruistic, how is he a tyrant king? If he replaced the tyrant king, the people that were in favor of whatever the tyranny the king was doing, if they could label the person getting rid of their boy, they would label him a terrorist. Did I say terrorist? I'm sorry. They would label him a tyrant. So similarly here, United States is a vast population with different ethnicities and belief systems. Okay. With that said, United States has called parts of it, our political apparatus have called Palestinians terrorists. Why can't we say they're at war with Israel when we say Israel's at war with Palestine? You don't hear anybody calling Israel terrorist in this country because we have, not we as the people, there's protests on both sides. There's protest on the Palestinian side. There's protest on the Israeli side. Okay. But if you look at the policies, both groups have terrorist policies. What I mean by terrorist policies, they are not afraid to have casualties for the civilians, one. Two, anytime you can go and blow yourself up, okay, and hurt innocent people that are not enemy combatants, that is about fear and terror. You're not going to defeat your enemy doing that. You're not going to win a war doing that. But at the same time, if your policy is if we ever start to lose a war, okay, or we ever get invaded, we're going to shoot nukes all over the planet and destroy the whole planet. That's a terrorist at a larger scale. So labeling has allowed for people who don't think about these things of what's really going on the luxury of choosing a side like you do in a movie. Like the Avengers are good guys, you know, the Justice League are good guys. And that's the reality of the situation. The labeling theory. Think about the psychology that the leaders have to have in order to get people all wound up, okay, while they are really guns for hire, okay, and have the people fight wars that they themselves would never fight themselves. Okay? Think about the manipulation there. Think about the fact that their children never die in wars. Okay? And our children die in wars. Think about the fact that they try to scare us into fighting the wars for them. What's the solution? The solution is for the population of these peoples, and even here, to love one another, do unto others that they have others do unto them, while at the same time be wise and gentle. Be wise as a serpent, gentle as a dove. And if we're willing to have self-sacrifice, not to be tools of war or machine men, then it's going to be pretty hard for the elite to wage war themselves. And if they come after us, well, then eventually they will have nobody to come after, because eventually we're going to throw them out of office peacefully. They'll be the worst tyrants on the planet. And the very few people that support them will not be able to maintain that and understand it's a losing battle. So that's what the powerful and elite do. Now they have their CBDCs. UK just passed a CBDC, central bank digital currency. So it's been used in Asia as a tool to monitor people's responses to political movements and give them a credit score based on how desirable those peoples are in that community. So therefore, if you say what the government wants you to say, or you do what the government wants you to do, you get more money to buy groceries and toys and stuff like that. Little things, ancillary things that really don't make the quality of the person. They're trying to give us a reward system, because the truth is this, man. Money, okay, is, when it's not currency based on anything that it has any true intrinsic value, is worthless. The only thing that gives it its value is the people's faith in it. It's not really about the small minority elite faith in the money. It's about what they can do to us with the money, what they can get us to do for the money, what they can get us to do for the drugs, what they can get us to do for the religion. Okay? So there's a currency there. All right? And the more people that buy into that monopoly money, you know, there you go. Because over time, the powers that be try to take away resources from the general population. They try to make sure they don't have land. They try to make sure that they don't have good health and nutrition, so that they have to go to doctors, so that they have to go beg. So they get lowered from a higher level of thinking, a high level, to a survival mechanism. And once you get a person to a survival mechanism, and you can communicate with those people that are simply seeking to survive, they become machines. They lose their soul. So now the CBDC is here to try to put a new control or leash over the general population for really something paramount to slavery of the population. Okay? Propaganda was a way to control people when we didn't have the ability to spread our ideas. We didn't have access to so much information. So now the level of darkness and tyranny has to expand to try to lock down our ability to have information, to take away the internet, to take away the ability to read books, and to put pressure on us to say, hey, if you say you don't go to war for the government, we're going to take your money. Or we throw you in prison if you don't go fight and go kill some people for us. Is that what, if there was a God, if there is a God, I don't know if you believe in a God, but if God was representing goodness, okay, in the world or in the universe, is that something a good person wants you to do? Go fight and go wipe everybody out for their sake? Man, woman, child, animal, wipe them all out? Is that what a good universal God would do? Or is that what a negative entity in the world, like a devil, would say? Okay? Go fight for me against these group and wipe them all out. Whoa. Okay. Animals in the wild don't do that. You know, they found that lions are in Africa the master hunter. I ain't talking about tigers. Yeah, they're better hunters. They're more ferocious. Um, they're bigger. But lions are in that area of Africa, the greater hunter. Therefore, other animals that are intelligent let the lion eat first. And other animals that seek to scavenge, like wolves, will follow lions. So what do lions do now that the dogs have learned to follow lions, just like they learn to follow human nomadic tribes? Well, the dogs will go and follow the lion, and every time the lion kills something, they'll try to go get scraps. Eventually, the lion said, "Man, I wish these guys weren't following me because the lion doesn't seek to control other people like that." So the lion kills more than he needs and leaves caches for the wolves to don't follow me. Okay? I'm not a good person to follow. I don't want to be followed. But our power elite are different. They want to be followed, but not for good reasons, because they're going to show us the right way to do things, or how to get along with people, or how to navigate the landmines that have been put out here. Okay? Because it's a scientific attack. Okay? Where you have scientific tools, for example, a television. Imagine the influence of things that would pop up on the television in the 90s and the early 2000s. Now people have vibrated out of televisions. Only older generations, when you talk about people in their mid 40s and up, they watch television. Younger generations have overcome that trap. So now they've got us on cell phones and TikTok, so they can see everything that we're doing and influence us based on region. TikTok in Asia, China in particular, is not the same TikTok in the United States. Google search engine is gated in China, and in uh, through search engine optimization, other things don't pop up in Google in, for example, Europe or in the United States. It's a control mechanism to pump the will of the people in such a way that the people that are on top can remain on top, while using us as a tool to fight their wars, also dividing us amongst perfect center mechanisms where they can manipulate and co-opt groups. Sophisticated attack. So in one piece we have the moon and sun. So we have those who will follow this particular belief, the sun god religion, if you want to call it like that. Okay, I guess the sun god religion would really be like uh, Christianity, um, Egyptian mystery school. But at the same time, Islam are told to study them also. But many Muslims don't study the older text and how it relates to their particular book. And since they don't follow that, they have a limited perspective. Therefore, either philosophy, when it's taken into an extreme without a proper context, you don't see how they connect and how they're related. We don't see in the political sphere, how are the Democrats in the United States and the Republicans in the United States related? If you follow the money and follow the families that are controlling both sides of these wars for so long, you'll see the manipulation. You'll see that what they seek to do in general is not actually good. It's not a philosophical thing. They're going after imperialism, empire building. And that's what tyrants have done over many years. And the people that control the governments get to relocate their power, because they are operating not off a pyramidal system like our governments are, where you have a person at the top, you may have a republic underneath it, or inverted, maybe you have a republic or a deep state here, and you have a puppet president, but that particular group at the top is still at the top of the pyramid. It could be a president, it could be a republic, it could be a military oligarchy at the top, and they manipulate the people beyond below them like a pyramid. What what else do we know about pyramids? You know, Ponzi schemes are pyramidal schemes. But the people that are manipulating the government have something called a holographic system. And what is a holographic system? A holographic system says no matter what pyramid we go into, we can hijack it, because our system, one, is not limited to region. It's not limited to the laws of the land. We can usurp laws of the land, because we can do the same thing over here that these guys wouldn't want us to do over here. And at the same time, when we can have enough political power put on the pyramidal structure, where the people at the top will acquiesce and make concessions for us, where we are too big to fail. Therefore, Holographic system takes a physical form, not just from money. There was something um, back in the past. There used to be kinghoods. They had their own currency, but when the Catholic Church allowed um, a particular group, I believe it was the Rothschild group, to loan money out or dollar notes, it let them have a holographic system that caused a conflict between kings, okay, and the money brokers now, okay, who later became known as um, they were called the Knights Templar, which later became known as the Masons. And now there is a struggle now because people recognize that their systems are being hijacked by a more sophisticated system, okay? So, is it good to stay out of foreign entanglements? Yes, it is good. But there's always internal entanglements. And if we are not aware of the external manipulations, then we can still be taken over by a holographic system without us even knowing. So the actual warfare that people should be pursuing in, okay, is an intellectual warfare, a spiritual warfare, where we understand the trajectory of certain things. Well, if you get everybody on your country on drugs and fentanyl, well, their lifespan is going to be a lot shorter. Okay, and if their lifespans are a lot shorter, it's easier to manipulate a people that don't live as long because they have left life experience, and the people underneath them, their children, don't have that guidance. So imagine how long our leaders live in conjunction to the general population. It's the same thing that was going back in Aztec, back in ancient Egypt, back in Aztec society. You have the elite live twice as long as the general population. So now they're telling us, hey, well, maybe people shouldn't have retirement. Whoa. Now they're telling us maybe people shouldn't have Social Security. Maybe some people should be euthanized by the government. Now Canada has a euthanization program that has expanded. Not just the people that are terminally ill, but the people that feel that their infirmity is too tough to tolerate or their life circumstances are too tough to tolerate. This sounds like the return of Dr. Kevorkian, but on a governmental level. What's next? Coming here? Building all these prisons and internment camps? Are they really for the so-called MAGA movement? Are they really for them, or is it for everybody? Is it for the people that say, "No, I'm not going to go to war and fight your war"? In the words of Muhammad Ali, no, I'd rather die fighting against you. These poor people, they never do nothing to me. So, wow, hope I didn't go on a tangent right there. But yeah, One Piece seems pretty dark. However, when you project it to the real world, it's not that One Piece doesn't go far enough. You have to build a foundation of which where people understand or want to understand more sophisticated context, more sophisticated scenarios, a more sophisticated attack. So we have fake news around us all the time. I heard something the other day said, man, um, last year or 2020, temperatures on Earth were hotter than they've ever been in 100,000 or 200,000 years. Think about that, man. We had the younger dryer. We had an ice age. Okay, you tell me that we have hotter temperatures than the temperatures that melt that ice on this planet. Okay, I told you before that we have hundreds of thousands, really millions of uncharted islands. Now they're finding new islands all of a sudden, popping up through volcano, creating new islands allegedly. Okay, don't believe nothing they tell you. Okay, just because they tell you one thing. NASA used to airbrush out, or up to a year ago, a certain portions of the sky. They still do it, but now we can see another sun. We have a dwarf sun that's in our solar system with an elongated pattern, just like the ancients said. I believe that dwarf sun in One Piece is represented as Blackbeard, wherein they both do believe in freedom. They both believe following their own destinies. However, Blackbeard really seeks to have a secular power hold on the world. He seeks to actually have a physical or a lower intercessory power, where it is based on money, power, influence, and becoming the king of a world, not like a I want freedom and peace and I want to have everybody have abundance and a party that spans the whole world like Luffy. So there's a fundamental difference, okay? Because that particular planet has been talked about around the world with different names, okay? It is a planetoid. In Egypt, they called it Nemesis, okay? Because when it comes, there are so many planets, comets, moons with genetic material and organisms on there, okay? It brings something like the plagues that they saw in Egypt. Okay, you take it or let it alone. But this has been documented um, by the ancients. You know, uh, Solon, Plato, the Greek philosophers went to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians had things in their writings to let people know what was going on. Okay, even to the point where they said that, man, fire, Helios, or a god they call Helios, was flying his son was flying his chariot and crashed into the earth, or a part of it crashed into the earth, which caused basically a wiping out of life about 12,500 plus years ago. That's mentioned. That's about the time when Göbekli Tepe was most likely covered up. That's what I believe. That's what I believe when it was covered up in Turkey. So people that are aware will get these signs and see it, you know. But the reality is, the people that are on our mainstream news, they ain't telling you the truth because one, they've been trained to talk to us in such a way where we go into a theta state, or we go into a subjective state wherein we are suggestible because they are presenting, they're flashy, they're dressed real nice. You know, they are using the same terminologies and words. They want us to think we know what we do not know. It's a flood. It's a flood of information that's not true. Okay? So, what else happened in One Piece? And my predictions for One Piece. What do I have? Well, I think that we're going to find out that I am right about Ginny. And I am right about Bonnie. I think that Ginny being crystallized, because Kuma has the ability of the paw fruit, can do so that make it that Ginny is always around Bonnie. But I also believe that Bonnie, when she's asked to go wherever she wants to go, I believe she ends up going to Dr. Vegapunk. And while meeting Dr. Vegapunk, she probably gets access to the age fruit, but also comes in contact with a scientist that helps the Revolutionary Army and also helps Kuma create something for her. Maybe he took her memories, her consciousness, and put it in an artificial body that could be grown, because there's different types of clones. Okay, there's clones strictly based off of our DNA that can be grown, and then there's clones that can have a portion of our DNA or portions of us, like our maybe brain matter. We can grow a brain. Maybe we could regrow ears. That's a cloned ear. We can clone organs. You know, we can clone bodies. We allegedly have patents, which I've seen, patents to move consciousness from one person to another, which oddly enough was exactly what was happening in ancient Egypt. They were growing their own body parts. They were growing their own organs. They had doppelganger bodies for themselves. This is in ancient Egypt, and it also pops up in the Islamic text when they talk about Zulkarnain dealing with a particular group on the planet, which is called Gog and Magog to the people that study the Old Testament. But for them, Juge and Majuge, who had the ability to replicate themselves by the thousands. So every time you kill one, Like the Hydra, they popped up with multiple Duggar Gamer bodies. So take it or let it alone. I don't know how that applies to One Piece, other than the fact we may ask, like, what is the Will of D? Is the Will of D something that gives a double ganger spirit for those who witness the D and how they die happy or holy? They take up the Will of D themselves and can become a D, either through a physical initiation of water or alcohol, being sake, or spiritually, just through their mind consciousness understanding. And if that's the case, my prediction is if Big News Morgans puts the information out on Egghead to the world through the internet, which Vegapunk looks like he's trying to create, the internet does not originate on Earth. The internet, if you look at animals, the 100th monkey effect, and you look at the waves of energy out in space, okay? We already had an internet, just different forms of wavelengths of internet. There is a story from the Apollo 8 mission when they went to the dark side of the moon. They read scripture, and the people on the other side of the moon played something like a ancient classical music. And allegedly, when they came down on the other side of the moon, they got out and they saw these 7 to 10 foot people, African looking, dressed in black, coming out too. Like, what's up? So these are stories that people don't tell until they're on their deathbeds. Everybody's had their own experiences, you know. So some people have more physical experiences, and that makes them question the nature of our physiology, or the nature of our reality, if you will. We have an electronic universe, a magnetic universe, wherein we call it dark matter because things are vibrating in and out of our particular space at such a vibration where we can only perceive with our natural senses a small wavelength, just like we do when we look at light. We think light is one. But when we break it down at the spectrum, we see a prism of a rainbow. But those rainbows in our spectrum of our ability to see those colors. Where in computers having higher resolution, we may only see, you know, maybe like 30 different shades of a color. It varies. But the computer can pick out thousands. Okay? So we all have a wavelength, okay? But we also had an internet where we were only aware of people in our auditory or our visual or our sensory perception, our 5 basic senses. But then there are people who activated higher senses, which we call the sixth sense, which I use the sixth sense all the time. I couldn't operate in the world being a blind person unless I use the sixth sense, where my proprioceptics, my hearing, all my other senses create an energy bubble around me to help me move through this space. So imagine beings with higher energy capacities than us, okay? Higher sensory on a physical level, giving rise to more spiritual capabilities. For example, animals. So that's where I think we are right now. Okay? The internet is going to give a exponential growth to the will of D. And then people are going to be like, man, we all became Alex Jones. Not that Alex Jones is perfect. Absolutely not. He'll be the first one to tell you that. Not that Donald Trump is perfect. Absolutely not. He'll be the first one to tell you that. Not that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are perfect. They'd be the first ones to tell you that. You know, they just have a high level of class and integrity. So they may come off perfect to people that idolize them, but everybody has their own cross to take up, their own struggles, their own dramas. But there are truly people that now seek to encapsulate tyranny over us. Okay? Those people that seek to divide us in such a way that once Humpty Dumpty falls, not the kings, not the king's men, no one's going to be able to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Okay? And that's where we are in the world right now. But I think that's where we're going in One Piece, because once the Will of D expands through the internet, if the Will of D is what I think it is, something that can be an infectious disease like Bitcoin is to the money market, it's an infectious disease that can be dealt with. The Bitcoin can be dealt with policy. Say people that deal in Bitcoin can't buy or sell goods of every country because every country has been enslaved and subjugated. Therefore, you can't even buy food with Bitcoin. That's how you deal with Bitcoin. But outside of that, outside of an overarching system that can go over Bitcoin, because Bitcoin cannot be destroyed very easily. They have protocols where it's a holographic system where every person becomes Bitcoin. Every person on the planet becomes Bitcoin. If there's a nuclear attack, Bitcoin goes into hibernation for 10 years and can do that repetitively. So the system that you deal with Bitcoin has to be a systemic application to the actual usage of Bitcoin. And that's where we're headed. So as one side rises for freedom and justice, it doesn't matter your religion, your politics, or if you only have religion or politics, for freedom, justice, equality, okay? Tyranny seeks to rise and find a way to usurp it. And historically, freedom comes up, tyranny tries up again, freedom finds new, and it gives a animating contest of liberty or the animating contest for the attempt to enslave and bring about tyranny. So that's what's happening in One Piece. Will they destroy Humpty Dumpty, who sat on the wall? Okay, the red line. Will the sun and moon come in harmony again? I believe they will. Like I said, I believe there's going to be defectors on both sides. There's going to be people that are in the know or have been in the control, like the Yonkos, like the Gorosei, that are going to put some minor differences aside or come to understand that they've been manipulated by something even greater than themselves, or they've been overcome by their own devils in their own heads and how to overcome them. I think that's what ultimately will happen at the end of One Piece. So what do I say? I said the will of deeds like an infectious disease, like liberty, like the idea of freedom, like Bitcoin, like the idea of actual currency that we actually can not have be manipulated to control us. At the same time, it's a replicating idea that's not just a virus in a term of a negative sense. Okay, it's a positive virus that's like an antibody or a natural vaccine, if you will. I also say that we're going to bigger stakes now. It's not going to just be a free for all melee war. No. I believe that One Piece is going interstellar. And not only that, there's going to probably have to be a spinoff. There's always going to have to be a spinoff because what's Oda going to do after One Piece is over? He's going to go into retirement? Huh? Is that what's going to happen? He's going to go off into the sunset? Nah, I don't think so, especially after being this successful. One thing about success, and when you think you're doing something good for people, it makes you want to replicate it. It makes you want to expand it. So this has been Philosophy. Hope you enjoyed the content. Um, Obviously I'm gonna have more content because we're going through a trajectory. We're going through life right now. Um, there's very interesting things happening in the world. One Piece points at that for a particular new audience, but that audience doesn't have to stay in their intellectual ghetto. They can grow out of it. People don't have to stay in their religious ghetto because in reality, religion, even when you understand the text that these people create religions from, are narrowed in such a way to give themselves a particular flavor, something that they can particularly sell if the elite wanted to control the masses. Human capital, you know. I talked to a person in the past. It was actually my brother. He's telling me it was 2015. He said that the barter system cannot work in a complex society that is spacefaring, and he explained it. because he said to me that people that farm can exchange maybe the potatoes or apples for oranges. But as people make complex tools, like, you know, their tools will be more valuable than the production of the people's goods. Therefore, you have to create something that gives a standard to that. Therefore, you create money, maybe it be salt, dates, that's something backed in gold or silver, right? That, in essence, gives us a money system. And as people become more skilled than the other people, the gap develops. And he said, that's why we have money for complex societies. And I said to my brother, and I'm young now, and he's like, what, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years older than me, working, engineering, people think they're doing things big. And I said to him, I didn't read that book, but what I do understand is life and energy and cycles. And I said to him, what happens when the money reaches a point where people have more money than other people? Or the value of the money for the general population can never meet their basic needs. I said, people are going to create other currencies. This is where you see the death of money. And I said, cryptocurrency will happen. And I wish I was invested in Bitcoin then, because I would have made a lot of money. I didn't know about Bitcoin. I was just a young brother, working a job. And I said to him, hey, so when that happens, you're going to have the death of money. People are going to create cryptos. And you know what? Eventually, the cryptos will reach their limit where people have bought them all up. And now you have a similar situation where people want to create something because you have so many cryptos that may have a set number or a burn rate or a finite amount to actually lock value in conjunction to fiat money. So it's a better alternative. But what happens when uh, it's oversaturated? People are going to want their currency, their crypto, to have some type of intrinsic value again. And then we begin to descend back into a barter system where now resources are even more valuable. So everything has a gestation or a cycle of rising and falling. If we let people that we put as our teachers or our idols to give us a limited perspective and understanding, we fall into these intellectual ghettos. So this has been Philosophy, guys. This is my view on One Piece chapter 1098, what I think is going on, what I see in conjunction to the real world, and life imitating art, art's imitating life. And I hope you enjoyed the content. Until next time, peace.